Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on this presentation. So this is my environmental ethics capstone project that I just completed. It's about growing your roots and creating change right in your own backyard. I began working on this capstone project at the beginning of the semester, and one topic that kept coming up in our readings, film festivals, and discussions is that change begins with each and every one of us right here and right now. I've always been a bit of a closeted rebel. I don't like to travel the path that everyone else does, much to my mom's chagrin. Sorry, Mom. But by creating an outdoor space that's rebellious, outside of the norm, that sparks discussion and gets noticed, while also being a solutionary idea, sounded very appealing to me. Just like Ron Finley, I wanted to create a food forest in my front yard that could educate and transform others. After his TED Talk, I said to myself, I too want to be an ecolutionary renegade and a gangster gardener. It's my way of taking a stand and fight for the planet that I'm on. And this is my activism. I then began to think, if we can recreate what a beautiful lawn is, one that's filled with native plants, habitats for wildlife, and a balanced ecosystem, we can do so much towards helping the environment. During one of our film festivals, I had the thought that I'd love to create a utopian-style ecosystem right in my front yard. When all around me is barren and destroyed, I can have an area that's filled with plants and trees that breathe in carbon and exhale oxygen, that provide clean air. As we learned in home, our Earth relies on a balance in which every being has a role to play and exists only in the existence of another being, a subtle, fragile harmony that is easily shattered. I know my idea sounds pretty dramatic and something out of the film Wall-E, but I want to at least try my best to give the environment a fighting chance. I began transforming our garden back in 2015 when we installed our little free library. I wanted to do something that would promote reading and education while spreading the message of kindness and also the importance of supporting one another and teaching my son these skills. The library has been up and running for 2 years, and it's been really wonderful. We've been interviewed by the local television station, as well as had a feature in the local newspaper. We see new faces all the time stop by the library, taking a book or dropping one off that they want to donate. And it's a great way to meet new people and pass along the idea of sharing. We were the first home in our town to place a little free library in our home, but since 2015, I'm happy to note that there have been many more that have popped up. And this is just one example of how ideas can spread if you just take the initiative and start something. This is just way back when my son was much, much younger, but we have a little bench out front for young children to sit and read, and we hope that people use it. So thinking about what I wanted to do for my capstone project, I decided I wanted to work towards this utopian vision that I had and use this time to work towards getting our garden certified as the National Wildlife Habitat. So on the screen is the garden certification checklist that shows the requirements that are needed in order to become certified. So as you can see, there are 5 categories that need to be met: food, water, cover, places to raise young, and sustainable practices. In our project, we had to do a lot of prep work. We mapped out the sun patterns to see where the best place to have a garden would be. We also researched how to get started making garden beds. We got our supplies, built 2 4x4 square raised beds. It was a really fun family project that involved a little bit of sweat, but happy to say minimal tears. To meet the food requirement, we needed to provide 3 different sources of food, whether that be seeds from a plant, berries, nectar, fruits, sap, bird feeders, pollen, etc. So we planted a garden full of fruits and vegetables, and we got a bird feeder, and we let our friendly bugs and insects enjoy the plants that we had around the yard. Our strawberries were very popular with a neighboring squirrel. He feasted on them and didn't let us have any. At one point, he left the evidence in the form of strawberry juice on the side of the garden bed, but I'm glad he was able to enjoy them. A really great thing about our garden beds is that they really flourished without the use of any fertilizers or insecticides or pesticides. And we've been able to do 2 plantings this summer and have enjoyed the farm-to-table style dinners during the seasons of spring. Here are a couple other pictures of our garden beds. But in addition to these beds, we've also planted fruit and vegetable plants in a tree stump that was cut down last year due to decay. It's a perfect container for these plants. Along with the soil, the decomposition material of the tree has provided so many nutrients. And also, as a way to continue plantings every year, we are saving seeds from the plants when we are able to. We let the lettuce bolt and we're able to collect many seeds for next year. In the water category, we have to provide at least one source of clean water for wildlife to drink and bathe. So we constructed what you can see on the left. We have a plastic, what we would normally go under a planter. So we filled that up with rocks. On top of that, we have a more ceramic planter that we have some bark, some leaves, also some twigs and branches. And then we fill both up with water so that bugs and bees do not drown. They have a place to rest, have some water, and enjoy this during the hot summer months. We've also on the right, it's hard to see, but we have a little green container of water that's closer to the ground, but it's filled a little more. And this is for more of the larger wildlife, the squirrels and chipmunks, or perhaps the wild turkeys that come by, or the deer. So wildlife needs at least two places to find shelter from the weather and other predators. So they suggested that rock piles or wooded areas, a brush, a meadow, or ground cover could work. We do have a rock wall that is home to many species, but I also bought a bug box that they could easily go in for safety. And in addition, after a past snowstorm, a branch now hangs very low to the ground due to the weight of the leaves. But instead of cutting down that branch, I left it as is, as it's provided a really wonderful area of shelter and shade for larger animals that come through our yard, like the deer and wild turkeys. To become certified, we need at least two places that encourages meeting and a place for animals to raise their young. So along with our mature trees that we have on our property, we also have a birdhouse and a bee house. And we position the bee house as close to the vegetable garden as possible to help initiate pollination. This was just a lovely photo of a little bird nest that was on the ground with a beautiful blue bird egg. So it's lovely to see that. We also have to encourage managing our habitat in a sustainable way that is better to help wildlife. And there are many ways that we can do this, and they suggest ideas such as soil and water conservation, controlling exotic species, and other organic practices. We have been composting at our home since we moved in 2012, but we also wanted to incorporate other sustainable practices this summer. It started when we were trying to find a watering solution for when we were going to be out of town this July, and it was going to be the hottest week of the summer. So I did a little research and heard about drip irrigation. And I knew I couldn't install a proper drip irrigation system in that short amount of time, but I found that I could use the same principle by using a container of water and cotton string. Much to our surprise, when we returned from our trip, our plants were thriving. The string was still wet, and it showed how much water is wasted when we use other watering systems. And we have continued to keep the string in the plants. And not only has it been great for the plants, but it saves a lot of time watering every day. Another feature we added was planting flowers at the end of our gutter drain, and we've noticed that the grass right outside of the drain was always so lush and green. So I think this was the perfect place to plant and be able to utilize the rainwater as opposed to water out of the hose. Now, biophilia. Biophilia is love of nature it usually occurs when you're young, but if it's not cultivated, then it's harder to get back when you're older. Biophilia is not listed as one of the requirements for certification, but I felt that it really should be. So by incorporating my son's train set and other toys into the landscape, I hope it further helps cultivate my son's wonder and love of nature. As it was quoted in Earth and Mind, a book by David Orr, we cannot win this battle to save species and environments without forging an emotional bond between ourselves and nature as well. For we will not fight to save what we do not love. And I want my son to have that innate fire in his belly that will be the voice for the forest, a voice for the trees, and a voice for the animals. So after we we completed all our certification requirements, our garden became officially certified as a national wildlife habitat, and we plaque that we have displayed proudly at the front of our yard where people passing by can see, and hopefully it will spark interest and other people will decide that they also want to do that. So not only has this capstone project has been a wonderful learning experience for myself, but it's a great way to as a teaching tool for my son. So we did a little science experiment to demonstrate how drip irrigation by string works. We filled a bottle with water and food coloring and took a cotton string, placed one end in the bottle with water and the other in an empty bottle. So over the course of a week, we were able to see the colored water transfer up the string into the empty bottle. James has also been very active in helping with the garden. He loves taking care of the watering and observing the stages of how things grow, and he's also taking care of his grass hair project that he started in school. Last week, he decided that he wanted to try and grow something by himself, so he planted a little pumpkin seed and has taken care of the watering, and he's so happy to see it start to grow. A few of the other beautiful perennial plants and flowers that we have growing around our house. They're so lovely, they're so colorful, and it's just a nice addition that we have. So sowing seeds of change. There's a lot that we accomplished this summer, but it's really only the beginning. I have a lot of ideas of what we can do from here. My main goal would be to continue adding more and more plants to my garden so it eventually becomes a no-mow lawn where we don't ever have to take the lawnmower out. I want it to be a magical place for my son to play and explore, and I'd also like to focus on planting native plants and also perennials to help keep it less labor intensive. I would like to plan on building more garden beds so that it fills my front yard completely and plant more wildflower meadows on each side to encourage pollination. Additionally, I want to research a proper drip irrigation system and explore the benefits and costs associated with installing one. And also, as a continued goal, I want to research more ways to reduce my water footprint and resource use both inside and outside of my home, and eventually try to create a closed loop system where every resource is used effectively. As a longer term goal, I would like to talk to local landscapers and perhaps the Ashland Garden Club for tips on having an environmentally friendly yard. And once I gain more knowledge, we can work together and perhaps provide workshops on topics such as biophilia, environmental friendly garden practices, how to see beauty in a natural habitat, and how to start your own no-mow lawn. After all this work has been completed, my garden is ready. I would love to have this grand idea where it be a space for neighbors to gather. They can enjoy the garden, take a book from the library, learn about nature, explore their biophilia. As we all know, a habitat is as much about the people as it is about nature. Ultimately, I want to be a model for the community and show that anyone can do this, and I'm not special. It only just takes one step. As Paul Hawkins said in a commencement address to students at the University of Portland, "You join a multitude of caring people. No one knows how many groups or organizations are working on the most salient issues of our day: climate change, poverty, deforestation, peace, water, hunger, conservation, human rights, and more. This is the largest movement the world has ever seen. Rather than control it, it seeks connection." I believe we can also combat food waste. When we begin to plant our own fruits and vegetables, we know what goes into it, all the love, the care, the water, the resources. So when you get that cucumber, you want to eat every last bit. I think we've lost that connection, and now we're disconnected. When we go to the grocery store, we might get the same cucumber. We don't know what went into it. So oftentimes our food is just left in the refrigerator, left to rot and waste, which is really unfortunate. I believe we can solve the big problems with local solutions. I like to think that I can be part of that solution by taking this one step of retelling the story of what beauty is in a garden. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed everything and were able to take some points away. And I hope you too create your own habitat in your yard. Thanks so much.